big stretch.
Hey guys, Past Chanel here to do the tarot and jar prompts. So I'm going to do the tarot first to pick a book for this mood reading vlog. I am using the Earth Child Tarot, which has some cool hollow edging and foiling. So let's pick a card. Already we've got one. Ooh, we have the Three of Cups. And let's have a, maybe I'm getting in trouble for the tarot card pictures. Oh, I might have to choose non-nude decks in the future. Okay, Three of Cups. A book that focuses on friendship or features a friendship. Oh, this might be real hard to find. Let's see if I can. I'm just gonna pop up and go on my Goodreads. Okay, what do we have? What do we have? What looks like it's about friends. Okay, I was thinking maybe Pizza Girl by Jean Kyung Frazier, but I think that's Gal Pals. No. That's some Sappho kind of lady friendship there. So that's not, I don't think that's what this card was pertaining to. It's platonic friendship. Okay, so we've got Other People's Clothes by Carla Henkel. And it says it's about two American expats who are obsessed with the Amanda Knox trial. And they find themselves at the nexus of murder and celebrity in glittering late-aughts Berlin. One of them is escaping the recent murder of her best friend. So obviously I think they're going to team up. Yeah, they're together as friends. Okay, so we've got that one. We have one option. Well, there's My Friends by Frederick Backman, but it's not published yet. Otherwise that would have been the best one. I am struggling to find books that focus on friendship. I'm not a fan of that as a main thing of a book. I'm more into either people just doing shit solo or lovers rather than friends getting together, like Lord of the Rings style, even though it's one of my favorite books of all time. It's just not something I gravitate towards as much. Okay, there is What Doesn't Break by Cassandra Core, because it says, for as long as she can remember, Lorna has had a friend, a little voice whispering in her cropped ear, promising that no matter how monstrous she becomes or how far she wanders, there will always be someone to guide her. Like, yeah, that's a friendship. It's a friendship right there. So that one is highly likely. Okay, so those are, yeah, like I said, not many options for friendship. It's just, it's not a main theme that I enjoy in books, or that I search for in my books. I don't really care if there's friendship or not. I like it when it's there and it's done well, but I don't need it. All right, so it's pretty much What Doesn't Break by Cassandra Core, or Other People's Clothes by Carla Henkel. So I will do what I like to do and read the first chapter of each of those books before deciding which one. These are the ones that have the highest chances of being DNF'd, obviously. Generally try not to tell you about other books I start and then DNF on this vlog, so you don't have to hear about all these books I started, didn't finish. But yeah, it'll be probably between those two for that prompt. And then we've got Jar Time. Jar Time. What am I going to get today? I haven't had much luck with these lately. I've been DNFing a lot of these recommendations, unfortunately, but we'll see. Hey Sylvie in the background, what we get today. This is a newer one because it's on a different piece of paper than I usually do. The Gallant by Jenny Wirtz, and this is by Nerd Level Rising. So I'm just going to quickly look up. I'm pretty sure it's fantasy. And Jenny is one of those authors, just like Joe Abercrombie, I've heard a lot of good things about. So I thought I want to check her out. Maybe it'll be like a Joe Abercrombie situation where I end up finding a new fantasy author I really like. So it's a very short description for this book, and it says, The Gallant, a Wars of Light and Shadow novella. Varaine is a celebrated gallant of Shand. When a web of conspiracy aimed at the throne makes him an unwitting target, Lysiane, least likely of women, steps up to salvage his fate. It's got a 4.3. Why does it have not many ratings? 135 ratings. That's not much, unless this is just the edition. No, it's just one edition. 108 pages. Okay, that's great. I love it when books that have not been reviewed a lot, not talked about a lot, have flown under the radar, come in. So thank you, Nerd Level Rising, for bringing this book to my attention. Hopefully it's a banger. Obviously, I'll be picking up some books according to my mood and reading them. I will not tell you what they are unless I am halfway through and very sure that I am reading to completion. So I will see you guys. I'll send you back to Future Chanel.
The flower does not choose its color. We are not responsible for what we have come to be.
Hey guys, I'm popping in to do a library haul because I just got a bunch of books. So let's go. Let me show you what I've gotten. I've got Braised Pork by An Yu. It says, one morning in autumn, just after breakfast, Jia or Yaya finds her husband dead in the bathtub of their Beijing apartment. Next to him is a piece of folded paper, a sketch of a strange creature from his dream. He has left her no other sign. Young alone with many unanswered questions, Jia sets out on a journey deep into her past where for the very first time she begins to have a sense of her future. Next up we have Zoo by Christopher Wilson. 5 things Yuri Zippet has learned. Being the official food taster for the great leader of the motherland requires him to drink too much vodka for a 12-year-old. 2. You do not have to be an elephantologist to see the great leader is dying. 3. Yuri's father is somewhere here in the Dacha or Dasha. 4. It's a crime to love your family more than you love socialism, the party, or the republic. 5. Some people were born to be disinvented. But there's something his comrades have yet to learn from Yuri, that being a brain-damaged child doesn't make him a fool. This just sounds so fucking weird and cool. We've got Emily Wiles, which I'm reading for this actual vlog. We've got Grandma Murphy's Pussycat, so obviously this is for indie. It's a book about black cats. Harley Quinn, A Girl in a Crisis. Sometimes, every now and again, I check out the comics and the graphic novels. Mammoth at the Gates by Nevo. I'm trying to get into the other books in the series to see if they're my bag, baby. Biblioflora, a celebration of floral beauty in botanical art. Like, I am a sucker for vintage drawings of flowers, and it doesn't matter that there doesn't seem to be hardly any words in this. This is a feast for the eyes, and I am obsessed. It's flower porn. Gleam by Freddie Carrasco. So this is a black and white graphic novel. I don't know what it's about. It just says, enter a future of defiant vitality, a kindness and violence as distant from one another as we tell ourselves. Hera Lindsay Bird. I just wanted a physical copy to read since I read the ebook version. So now I'm going to read the physical copy, and I do have plans to buy this for myself eventually, since this is a 5-star poetry book for me. Claire Keegan, The Forester's Daughter. This is a short story that is about the Wicklow countryside and the farming family of Victor Deegan with his 3 teenagers, the milking and the mortgage. It's so small and teeny tiny, but I'm giving that a read. And the other books are for the Get Real Weird With It blog, so I'm not showing you on here. But that's everything for today's library haul. Got this sweet treat for myself. Fingers crossed it tastes good. I'll cover my bruise. That's a very peculiar combination. Hey my dudes, I am popping in because we're doing a little bit of a switcheroo. I did start reading The Gallant by Janie Wirtz. Unfortunately, her writing style isn't for me. It's what I would call overcomplicated prose. I just feel like I'm drowning in broth just to get a bite of beef, bro. I'm going to give you an example of the writing style in case it is your jam. How could living consciousness measure the vista of dream, exposed to a deluge of wholeness beyond the realm of incarnate experience? Every harmony ascribed to music broke down. Vision faltered, attempting to grapple pure light until the vast influx foundered clay senses. Thought failed, undone by the scope of what danced, limitless, far above the span of earthly substance. Cognizance drifted, stripped of compass or chart. The Paravian presence bridged a chasm too wide. The flood tide of sensation and joy overwhelmed, then torched the frail balance of mortal awareness. It's like that the entirety of the book. I read half of it, but I hated the writing style. It gave me a headache. Sometimes ornate, flowery, intricate, overstuffed prose works for me. Sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it did not. So yeah, I can tell that this author and I are just not meant to be buddies. So I did pull another thing from the jar. I had to because I needed something to read, and this is what I got. So I'm sorry you don't get to see my reaction, but I was pleased as punch. I I forgot about this book, obviously, because I deleted it from my TBR, but it is Asunder by Kerstin, and I saw it on Tori Morrow's channel. It sounded so intriguing to me, and I have read it, and I loved it, but I don't have time to give another review or any reviews of the books I've read for this mood reading vlog thus far, because I'm headed out, which you would have seen in my short books reading vlog last month. So you're going to have to wait until tomorrow's Chanel can sit down and tell you about what she's read so far. Hello my darlings, it's Chanel, and today I am telling you all about the books that I mood read. So I'm starting with Old Soul by Susan Barker. This was a gift from Jay. I don't know if it's going to come up, but it is very fascinating. It's got this texture that I haven't felt in a book before, and it's cracked. So you can see sometimes when it catches the light, these little holographic bits underneath the crackle. So Old Soul is probably what I would call an eldritch thriller. I'm going to put that down. Where first-in deals are made for an immortal life and sacrifices must be made. This is about a mysterious woman. Is she just an old, unfortunate soul or a selfish, murderous bitch? And basically you're looking at how all of these mysterious, sudden deaths of different people are linked because of this woman who is never the same and never has the same name, but the circumstances of their deaths and her involvement with them are the glue that holds it together. Now, I did have some issues with this book. First being that there are no quotation marks, and I know some people are cool with that, but I hate reading something and then realizing, oh, that was someone talking, and then having to go back and read it again as dialogue. It's just very laborious and just totally unnecessary. If their dialogue had been in quotation marks, it wouldn't be an issue. So I don't get the choice to do away with quotation marks. The book was also
incredibly slow
and needed to be edited down. The way it's structured is that you get these testimonials from these other characters and who they lost and the life of that person before this woman facilitated their murder. And it just drags the book because you're constantly like stopping and going, okay, now we're learning about this person. Oh, now we're going back to the story. Okay, now we're learning about this person. It felt like a lot of short stories collated together. So the continuity and cohesiveness of it was not well executed. And then you have the ending, which doesn't make sense to me. It's quite abstract and vague, and that frustrated me. I think overall very frustrated with this book. There were a lot of elements in there that I just felt like the build-up was not worth the payoff, so to speak. There wasn't a payoff for the build-up. That's what I tried to say. So yeah, unfortunately, I didn't enjoy it, but read it if you like quantum gods, photography, and Venus the Morning Star. The next book I picked up is called Cthulu Cat by Pandania, and this is a graphic novel where a dude finds a weird ass alien cat and decides to adopt it. One cat turns into two, turns into three, as the cat distribution system tends to do. A lady with three cats, I can testify. The book is cutely sinister and bizarrely quirky, but I didn't really have any idea what was going on, but also cute alien cats. So it was an okay read for me, but I would say read this if you like Lovecraftian kitties, rainbow fur balls, and changing the world's reality. I then picked up this book right here. So this is Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett. This is a third in the series. Sorry guys, I had Galentine's with Kate last night and I didn't get to bed until almost 2 a.m, but I'm trying to make it through. So this is a third in the series, and so you have Emily, who's kind of neurodivergent coded, very academic, a bit dry, serious, not great at social interactions. She's with Wendell, who is Fae royalty, a bit of a cad, extravagant other. And got to keep it vague. It's a third in a series, but it was very slow paced, which is the case with this series, but I found this one extra slow. I've never liked Emily. I've never warmed to her. Some people love her. I find her tiresome and once again frustrating. It's the word of the day today. She's the kind of person to leave her husband unread. That's one part in this book that utterly frustrated me. So she would abandon her beau to go research, okay, back in the human realms, and he would write her letters like, Em, let me know how you're going. Em, I really miss you. Em, when are you coming back? Em, please just reply to this letter. Bitch, she is too avoidant for me. And it was very annoying to read. Paul Brambleby just trying to get some sort of communication with his wife, and her, instead of communicating, would just roll her eyes at his letters. In this particular installment, the plot development felt very convenient. Everything just worked out, and it was very much centered on Em using her knowledge of fairy tales, so I guess fae folklore, to solve the mystery. And I didn't like that. It felt so contrived. It's just like, oh yes, this is going to exactly follow this fairy tale from the past. This is the way it has to go, and I'm the only one that can solve it, and I will just do whatever I want and not take into account anybody else's feelings or opinions on things. And like, because of that too, it just felt very low stakes. Even though things happened, I just had no emotional resonance with it, because I thought, she'll write this, she'll find a way to fix this and it'll all be fine. So this was an okay read for me. I pushed through because it was the last installment in the series, but I could have left it to be fair. I don't think it added a lot. I would say though, read this if you do like academic fae tales, chaste romance, because it is the chastest of chaste. It's a G rating for me. There's sometimes a very quick kiss on the lips, okay? Like at the most. There's no writing about desire or want or anything like that. So if you're coming for the romance, I personally don't think it's worth it. But anyway, read this if you like footnotes. There are plenty. The next book I picked up is What Doesn't Break by Cassandra Khaw. Women in our family don't break. They do what they can. Now, this is part of Critical Role. So from what I have gathered, Critical Role is sort of a D&D campaign where voice actors narrated their Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and they have characters, and now these characters are having backstory, origin story books written about them. That's what I feel like it is. So I'm not familiar with the Critical Role series. I think it was turned into an animated series too. I went into this just blind, just because I wanted to read Cassandra Khaw's work, okay? So just like Jenny Wirth's has that overcomplicated prose, Cassandra Khaw does too, but Cassandra Khaw's, to me, it's meaty, but it's perfumed. It's weighty, but worth the effort. Different strokes for different folks. In this one, we're getting to learn about Launa. So Launa is basically a lovely walking corpse cinnamon roll with massive golden retriever energy. And then she has this voice in her head who's definitely Black Cat, Bernard from Black Books, but make them vile and evil like Dolores Umbridge. And I don't want to tell you how she ends up being a walking corpse with this despicable voice in her head. I will say it is brutal. My God, the amount of suffering and pain that has been thrown at this woman, and yet she persists, and yet she never ever lets it turn her monstrous. Mind-boggling. This, yeah, it's very violent. Okay, so if you don't have a stomach for violence, probably don't read this. But I did very much enjoy it. Launa seems like the kind of character I would want to choose as my avatar. So in the acknowledgements section, Cassandra writes, "This book is a love letter to everyone who has ever walked away from a bad situation and decided they'd keep walking until they find themselves in a good one." But basically, Launa just wants to have a friend. She just wants someone to accept her and see her and allow her to help. She's a helper and she's a sweetheart, and I would absolutely ride or die for her. This does have a sapphic suggestion in it. After I read this, naturally I went down a rabbit hole of reading all about Launa, and so one of her future lovers does make an appearance here. But yeah, it was a rough ride. Okay, it probably didn't need to be as long as it was. It probably could have been cut down, but I was happy to be with Launa for an extended period of time. Read it if you like kind monsters, talking to yourself, and raven skulls. The final book that I read for this reading vlog, thanks to the TBR jar, was Asunder by Kerstin Hall. I don't even know where to begin to talk about this book. It's eldritch fantasy horror, and it's about a woman who is a death speaker. So she is able to talk to the ghosts or their sort of residual energy of them from their deaths to determine how they died. She likes to be independent, but she kind of works for the local mafia queen. Unfortunately, she has a compact with an eldritch god, demon, whatever you want to call it. And oh, it is brutal. At any point, he's going to collect on their pact. She made it out of necessity. She was not a religious zealot. Most of the people that have compacts with these eldritch gods are religious zealots. She ends up getting caught up in this political war, so to speak, and finds herself with a permanent hitchhiker in her head. It is, instead of two people, one bed, it's two people, one head, and has a very pushing daisies romance aspect to it. It's literally the slowest of slow burns, and I probably would have liked a bit more satisfaction after how long it took them to get to a point. Oh, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Look, like I said, the eldritch beings and violence in this is horrific. There was just some really fucked up shit in imagery. They have cool stuff too, like for instance, there are these headless doggy cabs. So these headless massive hounds, and you sort of hitch a ride on them, and then there's elevators that are literally these floating hands, and they hold you in the palm of their hand while they teleport you, across the open expanse. And there are absolutely terrifying carnivorous lights. There's a lot more. Big warning for arachnophobia in here. I was chilled. I was thoroughly disturbed. The world building and mythology in this book is rich and devastating. It felt like a shredded heart that just refuses to die, and with every stubborn beat gushes blood. I will say there are some complaints. The book had pacing issues. It felt like they were doing a lot of side quests, and it impeded the flow a little bit. And I also feel like they could have trimmed the fat somewhat, but it was very different to everything that I have read recently. The ending though made me want to riot. If it seems that this is a standalone, but it doesn't end like it's a standalone. I'm not okay with the ending whatsoever. I did feel a bit, I'm not going to say ripped off, but chagrined, maligned, betrayed by how it ended. I would love for there to be a sequel. I don't think there is going to be. I think this is the way Kerstin wanted it to end. So if you don't like reading books that don't have happy ever afters, I would say stay away. If you can take some pain, some heartbreak, some salt in the wound, give it a go. Read it if you like God Killer, Shadow Daddies, and Star-Crossed Lovers. So those were all the reads for my mood reading vlog. Let me recap them for you. Old Soul by Susan Barker wins the award for most clapped photographs. Cthulu Cat by Pandania wins the award for most chaotic cats. Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett wins the award for most vengeful snails. What Doesn't Break by Cassandra Core wins the award for this. I have not written it down, but this is what it wins the award for. And Asunder by Kerstin Hall wins the award for most painfully brutal ending. It's still a book that I'd highly recommend. This was a fantastic read. So those were all the books that I read. I am going out and about today, so I'm having another Galentine's Day with my other bestie, Kim. We're just grabbing brunch and catching up. So I'll leave you with some footage of that. But until next time, stay wild, star child. It is super cute. And I'm looking forward for a toasty